Hey, it's LSF here today, and today we're here to look at three products. We're going to compare the 2025 Toyota Crown Signia and the Lexus NX350h and the RX350h. And the reason why we're looking at this is because the three actually use the same powertrain, the 2.5-liter hybrid system. When you look at the three vehicles, definitely the RX is the most expensive. The NX is a little bit more affordable, but then the Toyota Crown Signia is even more affordable. So when you look at the three vehicles, is the Toyota Signia actually worth getting over the Lexus twins? It's definitely funny that Toyota looks like they haven't figured out where Lexus should be and where should the Crown models actually fit in the US market. Because when you look at Toyota, they have a broad range of vehicles like SUVs, pickups, sedans, sports cars, and a lot of vehicles for the everyday Joe. But when you talk about the modeling, they introduced the Crown with 4 vehicles in Japan and 2 of them came to America. But then they have different vehicles, because when you look at the Crown Signia, it looks very similar to the NX and the RX. And when you look at it, it seems like the Toyota Crown Signia is priced just a little bit under the NX, but you get the car size of an RX, and that seems a very good value. But a lot of Japanese folks who live in Japan also say that the Crown is supposed to be one of the most expensive Toyotas and the most prestige Toyota you can ever get. But here comes the Lexus brand that came in 1989, which probably overtook that. But now things seem to have changed again. The Crown has come back. But then where does Lexus fit here? And then the rumors of the Sentry coming back. Really? So the Sentry will be on top of, above the Lexus brand. That totally makes sense. So Lexus will top at a certain level and then Sentry comes back. That makes total sense. But why didn't they actually just call it the Crown when Lexus was introduced? So this video is to compare the Crown Signia with the NX350h and the RX350h because all three of them have the same powertrain and it seems like the pricing and all the things actually seem the three vehicles are very similar. So you can see here the pricing for the XLE is $44,000, almost $43,590, and the Limited is $47,990, almost $48,000, and then there's an advanced tech package that will bring it to $1,865 more, which is about $49,000. When you look at the NX, standard is $46,000, so you can see that it starts a little bit over the XLE, but the luxury goes to $52,000, which is a little bit more than the Limited. But you have to keep in mind that the NX350h in the US, you also have other options that you can add. So you can keep on adding more and the pricing will go a little bit higher than that. Then we have the RX. So the 2025 RX has not come out yet. So this is 2024. It's $52,000 to $61,230. And the same with the RX is that the NX, similar to the NX, where there are additional options that you can add on top even with the luxury. Then when you look at the pricing, standard colors are included, but if you want a premium color, it's $425. But when you look at the NX350h and the RX, it's $500 for the premium colors, and for the tri-code colors, like the ultrasonic blue, the copper crest, you're asking for $595. So when you look at the Crown Signia, the length is 194.1 inches, the width is 74, height is 64, wheelbase is 112.2, and the ground clearance is 6.7 inches. And then when you look at the NX, it's 183, so it's about almost 11 inches shorter, 10 inches around. The width is actually not as wide as the Crown Signia by half an inch. And then we have the height. NX is actually a little bit taller, 2 inches taller, and the wheelbase is about 7 inches shorter. The ground clearance is 8 inches, which is more of an SUV type. And then we look at the RX, it's 192. So the RX is actually 2 inches or an inch and a half shorter than the Crown Signia. Then we have a wider RX, and you have a taller RX, and then we have the same wheelbase, and the ground clearance is higher with 8 inches. So one of the differences of the Crown Signia, a lot of reviewers are saying that, is it really an SUV or it's a station wagon? Or it's a wagon, however you call it. The reason why is the ground clearance seems a little bit lower. Alright, and then when you look at headroom, if you look at it, it seems like the RX and the Crown Signia is very similar in the front, but the RX is much shorter in the back. It has much more headroom on the Crown Signia. Another reason why is the Crown Signia's panoramic roof cannot open, versus the RX, it has an opening roof. Similar to the NX, the rear is very similar to the RX, and the front of the roof is actually similar to the RX as well. It's a little bit shorter. Now we look at the legroom. So the legroom, you can see that there's more legroom on the Crown Signia in the front, and there's a little bit less, so it's right in between the NX and the RX for the rear.
Follow me on Instagram at LSFTvideos. You can see updates on my experience with the NX450h Plus, which may not be shown on any future videos. You can reach out to me via direct messaging if you have any questions on your Lexus. If you like this video, you can provide me feedback in the comments below, like this video, share it with your friends. This definitely will help with the YouTube algorithms. Press the subscribe button and bell icon and get notified when new videos show up. And lastly, if you want to support me further, you can provide me a super thanks, or visit my Amazon storefront before you purchase anything from Amazon, or you can purchase products from the list on the items that I've been using with my vehicle or at home at no extra cost to you. And now, let's continue with the video.
When we look at the shoulder room, the front is 57, and again, it fits right in between the NX and the RX. Similar in the rear, 55, it's right in between the NX and the RX. One thing I didn't know that if this numbers are right, but the hip room. The hip room in the front, the Crown Signia is actually less on both the front and the rear, even compared to the NX. So it seems like it is a little bit shorter in the hip area. Now let's look at the volume and capacity. The curb weight, you can see that the Signia is also right in between the NX and the RX. And the towing capacity, surprisingly, is exactly the same, 3,500 versus 2,700 pounds. And when you look at the fuel tank capacity, it's roughly the same as the NX, so probably sharing the same fuel tank in the NX. And then when you look at the volume, so you can see here the seats up, it's right in between the NX and the RX, but when the seats are down, the Crown Signia actually has more room. I'm not sure if this number for RX seems right, but that's what I got from the spec sheet. Now we look at the engine. So we all know it's the same 2.5 liter hybrid electric vehicle, same engine that we're talking about. And when we look at it, I also noticed that there was some discrepancy about the 240 horsepower on the Crown Signia. Some places are saying it's 243, which actually does make it exactly the same, like right in between. But right now it feels like it should be very similar to what the NX is producing. And then you can see that the RX has a little bit tuned, a little bit different in the engine, so which means it gets a little bit more power. But again, because it's a heavier car, I think performance-wise, it's very similar. Then we look at the gas engine and look at the power of the torque. So they've actually tuned it at 189 and 179 pound-feet of torque. So I'm surprised that this information was disclosed, because usually they do not do that. And then in the RX, you can see very similar. But then we don't know what we have on the Crown Signia yet. And then we look at the electric motors. The front motors are exactly the same, and the rear motors are exactly the same. So there's no difference between the three models. Then when we look at the hybrid traction battery, you can see that there's actually a little bit difference here. So the NX still uses the lithium-ion 1.7 kilowatt battery. And then when you look at the RX, uses a bipolar nickel metal hydrate with about 260 volt architecture. So very similar to the NX. And you can see that there's 1.68 kilowatt hour battery size. Right now, we're looking at, based on calculations, it's a 1.2 kilowatt hour battery, similar battery to the RX, and the voltage is 230 volts, roughly. So a little bit different in the hybrid system here, but it does seem that it's actually doing very well. Because when you look at the acceleration from 0 to 60 miles per hour, 7.1 seconds. I think reviewers have seen different numbers, but those were prototype cars, so we don't know yet, but that's what they're saying. The NX 7.2 and the RX was 7.4. And when you look at the turning radius, very similar, not that big of a difference. But then when you look at the fuel consumption, so you can see 38 miles per gallon combined, 39 and 36. And then the highway 37, 37, 34. And then the city 39, 41, 37. So overall, this is one area where the NX wins. And the NX is the most fuel efficient vehicle of the three. And then when you look at the brakes, very similar. There's not that much of a difference. The RX does have bigger brakes, but when you look at the NX and the Crown, very similar. So you can see that Toyota has actually taken some areas of the RX, some of the NX, and just put it together and made it the Crown Signia. Then when you look at the tire sizes, they did do different options of different tires, so definitely a little bit different, but tire size 19 and 21s for the Crown Signia versus the NX has the 1820s, the RX has the same 19 and 21s, but they do have a little bit thicker tires. So here I just put down features of the Crown Signia and the NX and the RX. So you can see that base, they do have the bi-LEDs and the LED lights for them. And you can see only at the top trims where they do get the triple beams on the RX and the NX, which means you have to pay a lot more. So when we look at the power mirrors, exterior mirrors, so for the power heated mirrors, the XLE and even the limited trim does not get the auto tilt down and in reverse, which Lexus has standard across the board. But when you do get the tech package, you get pedal lights, power folding, and reverse tilt down feature. So meaning the top of the Crown Signia matches the NX and the RX. But keep in mind, the fully loaded Crown Signia is still cheaper than the NX and the RX. So when we look at the panoramic fixed roof, there's a fixed roof for the limited, but there is no panoramic roof. I didn't find any reference of it on the XLE, so I don't know if they get a moonroof or anything. But when you look at the NX, you do get the power standard moonroof, and then the panoramic roof is optional. But then same thing when you look at the RX, it's optional on the standard, but then you do get the moonroof, and the panoramic glass roof is on the top trim. Rain sensing wipers are across the board. And when you look at the lift gates, so you can see that the XLE, the Crown Signia, gets the power lift gate, but does not get kick sensors. The NX at the second trim gets the kick sensors, and the highest trim gets it as well. And then when you look at the RX, the kick sensors are actually an option that you can add, but power rear door is standard. Then when you look at the Crown Signia, the heated and ventilated front seats, that's standard across the board. But then the NX does not get ventilated seats on standard. Other than that, you do get ventilated seats on top. Similar to the RX, the base standard does not get ventilated seats, and the rest does get ventilated seats with the heated seats. And then the Crown Signia also gets heated rear seats, whereas in the NX, you only get it as an option at the top trim. And then also for the RX, the top trim gets heated and ventilated rear seats. So you can definitely see there are some differences here. So the 12.3-inch digital cluster. So this is where the multimedia cluster, the Signia gets the new screen, and I don't know why the NX and the RX still doesn't get it. Thinking that the NX refresh will get it, and the RX refresh and a year later will probably get that as well. But I don't know why they didn't introduce that with the Lexus, and they introduced it on the RAV4 first. Very interesting things here. And when you look at the Qi compatible wireless charger, standard on the Crown Signia, but it's an option. for every single NX model. Same thing here on the RX standard. It's a package, and then you get it standard after that. When you look at the USBs, there's 5 USB-Cs, and then there's 6 USBs on the NX. I couldn't find reference, so I think what I've seen is it has 5 USBs on the RX. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. And then we look at the digital key. The XLE does not get digital key, and then only the higher trim gets the digital key. Same thing with the NX. It's not standard anywhere. It's an option that you can add, and the RX is the same. Then you look at the multimedia system. 6-speaker multimedia system is standard on XLE for the Signia. 11-speaker JBL is with the Limited. Then we have the 10-speaker Lexus Premium on the standard, and then after that you do get the optional 17-speaker Mark Levinson. It doesn't come with any of the packages. With the RX, it does get 12-speaker as base and 21-speaker Mark Levinson as the premium option. When you look at the Lexus interface or infotainment system, the 12.3-inch is standard on both vehicles on the Crown, and the NX gets the 9.8-inch. And then on the higher trim, you look at the higher trim Premium, you actually get the 9.8, but you can have the option to upgrade it to the 14-inch. And then the Executive gets the 14-inch. I think this is called Luxury. Yes, the Luxury gets the 14-inch. And then when you look at the RX, 9.8 as standard, and you get 14, 14, 14 on the higher trims. Interesting, but I think that Lexus should always just get the 14-inch. It is what it is. Alright, so then you look at Service Connect, Drive Connect, Safety Connect, Wi-Fi Connect, and Remote Connect. So you can see here 10 years across the board for the Service Connect. Drive Connect, you get 1-year trial for the Toyotas. There's no trial on the standard, and there is a 3-year trial on the NX350h, which is available that you can add. And then there is a 3-year trial on the Luxury. Same thing, no trial for Drive Connect on the standard. And then you can actually get the option on the higher trims. And then on the last two, the Premium Plus and the Luxury, you do get the 3-year trial. Safety Connect goes all across with 10 years. Wi-Fi Connect is the same, and this is only in the US that gets Wi-Fi Connect. And Remote Connect is 1 year, and then you can see that in the NX and the RX gets 3 years across the board. Then we look at the safety systems, so you can see that across the board everything is quite standard. And then you can see here that the airbags, there's 8 airbags similar to NX with the Crown, but then the RX gets 10 airbags. And then you can see this intuitive parking assist with automatic braking, not available in XLE. It's an option that you can add, and that's where you have the tech package. And then it's standard across the board for the NX RX. Heads-up display is not available on the Crown Signia. It's an option on the Premium, and it's standard on the Luxury. Similar here on the RX, you actually get it on the Premium Plus, and the Luxury gets a standard. Then we look at front cross traffic alert. Again, they're all options. And then lane change assist is also something that is all options. The panoramic view monitor, same thing. And then we have advanced park, which I don't see it at all. Digital rear view mirror and traffic jam assist. I don't see that available on the Toyota product at all. And then those are available as options or standard in the top trims. So there we have it. The comparisons of features, dimensions, and all that with the 3 vehicles. So when you look at this, I would say they are very, very similar. And really, for me, especially right now with the high interest rates, I think the Crown Signia is a win. If you even go here with the 49 to 50K, you essentially get a bigger car. You actually get a quite nice, very similar to the NX and the RX. And really what you get is You get the size of the RX with the price of the NX. But the only difference is that badge is a Toyota badge and not a Lexus badge. And is that something? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Especially if you go and do your service, definitely the Crown Signia will cost less to own. What would you pick? Will you pick the Crown Signia over the NX or the RX? Let me know in the comments below. I hope that you found that this video was informative, and until next video, drive safely. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please comment, like, share this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that bell icon to get notified when new videos are posted. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can provide me a super thanks. And until next time, cheers.